Czeslawa Kwoka was a 14-year-old Polish Catholic girl from the village of Walka. In December 1942, she and her mother, Katarzyna Kwoka, were forcibly removed from their home and transported to the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp in German-occupied Poland. Their deportation occurred because they lived in the Zamosc region, an area designated for German colonization under Nazi plans. Consequently, Czeslawa was classified as a political prisoner. Upon arrival, Czeslawa was assigned prisoner number 26,947. Her mother, Katarzyna, received number 26,946. Part of the camp's dehumanizing intake process involved documenting new arrivals. Wilhelm Brass, a Polish prisoner forced to work in the camp's identification service, was responsible for recording prisoner identities. He later recalled his encounter with Czeslawa during this process. Brass remembered her as young and terrified, unable to comprehend the German commands directed at her. Speaking Polish had been outlawed by the occupiers since 1939, and Czeslawa did not know German. During the procedure, a female prisoner overseer, known as a capo, grew impatient with Czeslawa's lack of understanding. The capo violently struck the young girl. Brass described the German capo acting out of sheer anger towards the frightened child. He recounted Czeslawa crying but being utterly powerless. Brass expressed profound empathy, stating he felt as though he himself were being struck, yet knew any intervention would be fatal for him within the brutal camp system. Czeslawa Kwoka endured the conditions at Auschwitz for only 3 months. Her mother, Katarzyna, perished first, under circumstances that remain unclear. Czeslawa died shortly afterward on March 12, 1943. Some accounts suggest she may have been killed by a lethal injection of phenol to the heart, a common practice in the camp, though official records are inconclusive. Subsequently, both Czeslawa's and Katarzyna's names were found documented on a list of deceased female prisoners believed to have had connections with the camp's resistance movement. The experiences of individuals like Czeslawa Kwoka are memorialized within the exhibits of the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum, ensuring their stories endure. Czeslawa Kwoka's experience unfolded within Auschwitz-Birkenau, a vast complex established by Nazi Germany during World War II, where approximately 1.5 million people were murdered. Her specific story, representing countless others, is preserved today within the Auschwitz-Birkenau State Museum. It finds a place in the indoor exhibit located in block number 6, titled Exhibition, The Life of the Prisoners. The prisoner Wilhelm Brass, compelled to work in the camp's identification service, provided crucial testimony decades later. He spoke about the moment he documented Czeslawa's arrival, specifically recalling the violence inflicted upon her. Brass recounted that just before her identity documentation was made, the young girl attempted to compose herself. She wiped away her tears and the blood from the injury inflicted by the capo. This act occurred under duress, moments after being struck for not understanding German commands. Brass remembered feeling immense empathy, but recognized the lethal danger of intervening. Czeslawa and her mother were part of the large-scale deportations from the Zamosc region. This operation aimed to ethnically cleanse the area to make way for German settlers, tearing Polish families from their homes. Designated as political prisoners due to their origin, their fate was sealed by Nazi ideology and policy. Czeslawa Kwoka's life was cut tragically short at the age of 14. She survived less than 100 days in the brutal environment of Auschwitz before her death on March 12, 1943. Her death followed that of her mother, Katarzyna Kwoka, by less than a month. Katarzyna, prisoner number 26,946, perished within the camp under circumstances that were never officially clarified. The exact cause of Czeslawa's own death remains uncertain in official records. However, given the systematic killing methods employed at Auschwitz, speculation persists that she may have been murdered via lethal injection, a fate common for those deemed unfit for labor or targeted for elimination. Subsequently, historical research uncovered the names of both Czeslawa and Katarzyna Kwoka on a specific list. This list documented deceased female prisoners who were suspected by camp authorities of having connections to resistance activities within Auschwitz. Wilhelm Brass, the prisoner who documented Czeslawa's arrival, operated under constant threat. His detailed recollections, shared decades later in a 2005 documentary, provide a harrowing personal account of the encounter. He emphasized Czeslawa's profound terror and innocence, contrasting it with the arbitrary cruelty of the capo. Brass's testimony highlights the pervasive fear and helplessness experienced by prisoners like himself, who witnessed atrocities but could not intervene without risking their own lives. The technical process of creating prisoner identification records at that time required subjects to remain completely still. Early photographic technology involved less sensitive materials, necessitating longer exposure times to capture an imprint. Therefore, devices were sometimes employed as part of the procedure to ensure the subject did not move during the extended moments the photographic plate was exposed. This was a standard practice in photography during earlier periods and adapted for the camp's documentation system. The systematic documentation process within Auschwitz, which included producing identification records, was a chillingly bureaucratic aspect of the camp's operation. Wilhelm Brass's forced participation placed him in a unique position to witness the arrival and processing of countless individuals. His memory of Czeslawa Kwoka remained particularly vivid decades later, underscoring the profound impact of witnessing such youthful innocence confronted by extreme brutality. He spoke of the capo's unchecked aggression, a common dynamic where prisoners were empowered by the SS to exert control over fellow inmates, often with extreme violence. The specific violence directed at Czeslawa stemmed from her inability to comply with orders given in German, a language she did not know. This linguistic barrier became a pretext for abuse within the power structure of the camp. Her deportation, along with her mother and thousands of others from the Zamosc region, was part of Action Zamosc, a brutal Nazi operation initiated in late 1942. It aimed to forcibly remove Poles to create living space for ethnic Germans, reflecting the racial ideology driving Nazi policies. Czeslawa's classification as a political prisoner stemmed directly from her Polish ethnicity and her presence in a territory targeted for Germanization. Her individual fate was thus intrinsically linked to these larger, genocidal policies. The uncertainty surrounding the exact causes of death for both Czeslawa and Katarzyna Kwoka is typical of the chaos and deliberate obfuscation within Auschwitz. Records were often incomplete or falsified, particularly concerning those murdered directly rather than dying from starvation or disease. The subsequent inclusion of their names on lists related to suspected resistance members adds another layer to their story, suggesting they may have been perceived as defiant even within the camp's oppressive system, although details of any such involvement remain unknown. Czeslawa Kwoka's brief, tragic life ended within the walls of Auschwitz-Birkenau, a place synonymous with the horrors of the Holocaust during World War II.